Chairman, for yielding. I thank you for having this hearing today. Goodness knows we could have had this hearing in the last Congress, and we should have had this hearing in the last Congress. It's well into a year since the signing into law of the Affordable Care Act, so it's high time we look at some of these things. Both sides of the dais will talk about jobs and the economy. We talk about it, we demagogue about it, but the big question is, are we going to do anything about it? Unemployment is at 9%, and it begs the question, why are American employers hesitant to hire new employees? Part of the reason might be, just might be, that in the first year since the passage of the Affordable Care Act, this is what a small business owner confronts when they want to hire a new employee. Is it any wonder that they would stop and look and say, I don't think I can do that at this time. We'll make do with what we have. Now, the burdensome regulations that have been delivered by the United States Congress they stack up, as you can see here, to be almost insurmountable by anyone who's ever run a small business that looks at a stack like this would say, I don't think that's for me. But here's the simple truth. You just cannot be anti-employer and claim to be pro-jobs. It doesn't equate. Now, the Affordable Care Act, in my opinion, levies unreasonable demands on employers, manufacturers, doctors, and not only discourages hiring, but encourages employers to drop their employee health insurance. We certainly punish physicians, and we tax industry offshore and out of America. Shortly after the signing of this act a year ago, large employers reported that the law would increase costs. In fact, several large employers restated their earnings for the year. That inflamed members of the then majority, and a hearing was called in the Energy and Commerce Committee, in the Oversight Committee, to call these folks in and make them explain why they were restating their earnings. Document demands were made of these employers, and they produced the documents. The documents were examined, and it turned out that the employers were simply complying with the Securities and Exchange Commission, but some of the information contained within those documents made the then majority, the Democrats, decide not to hold the hearing after all, because what they found was large employers were looking at the data and wondering how in the world it was going to be cost effective to continue to provide health insurance. No employer wanted to be the first to drop this benefit, but there were many who would likely be second, third, or fourth. The strict medical loss ratio regulations are another provision that have proved to be overly burdensome, and not only on businesses but on the states. Currently, 3 states have been given waivers. Another 10 are asking and are pending approval. Now, a state realizes that their market can't comply with the law. How in the world is the person who runs a lawnmower shop going to be able to comply with these regulations? The Affordable Care Act really ought to come with a boxed FDA warning that says the Affordable Care Act, when used as directed, may be harmful to your health. It may reduce your health care and increase your cost. The overregulation incites a sense of uncertainty, which discourages hiring and hampers economic development. Every day we get another announcement about another rule going into effect. Far too many are coming out, and quite frankly, several are coming out with the notice of final interim rules completely bypassing public comment. That is, the regulations have the force of law without the period of public comment. Now, if my friends on the other side of the dais are serious about getting Americans back to work, one of the first steps should be to loosen the regulatory nightmares that have been imposed by this law. Again, I thank the chairman for calling the hearing, and I'll yield back the balance of my time.